Hi there, friends. Happy Thursday. It's August 8th, 2004. I'm Mary Knabe, and I'm coming to you live from my Stampin' Up studio in Westerville, Ohio. I had another girls' trip this summer, Monday through Wednesday this week. I was in Frankenmuth, Michigan. I went with a friend I don't see very often, and she's one of those people, one of those friends that we don't see each other very often, but we can always pick up where we left off. She lives about an hour and 40 minutes from me. So I actually went to her house Sunday evening, and then we left for Frankenmuth on Monday morning. First time going there for both of us. If you are not familiar with it, it's basically a small town with a Bavarian village theme, or a German village theme. So it was lots of fun. Bronner's Christmas store is there. So that was the one place I absolutely wanted to go to. I can't show you what I bought there because they are presents for some of my family members for Christmas. What else do we do? Lots of walking, shopping. They have a lot of boutiques and fun shops to go in. The Big Cheese House. We did wine and chocolate tasting, so I learned a little bit about pairing wines and chocolates, and just really enjoyed each other's company. So if you have a friend like that you haven't seen in a while, reach out to that person, because you'll be so glad you did, and your friend will be as well. I have two announcements before we get into today's projects. The first one is that my Potions and Spells class to go is open for registration this week. Saturday is the last day to register for this class. You do need to pre-order and pay for it by Saturday. And in that class, you're going to make 8 cards, 2 each of 4 designs. I think this one might be my favorite. It's kind of, if you're familiar with the movie Hocus Pocus, it's kind of a tribute to the Sanderson sisters, so that's fun. And then my second announcement is, do not forget about Stampin' Up's DSP sale. They have a select group of designer series papers from our annual catalog that are on sale 15% off through the end of August. So it includes, let's see, 14 different ones. And thus, this is the inspiration for today's Facebook Live project. I'm going to be showing you a fun fold card made with the Thoughtful Journey designer series paper, which is full of all different kinds of scenes. So it can be kind of tricky when we first look at it. It's beautiful, but what do we do with it? I'm going to give you a fantastic card to make with these scene papers. So I'm going to flip my camera around now, and while I do that, would you please share this live video and invite others to join us this afternoon? Alrighty, the first thing I want to do is show you the products that I'm using today. So as I said, I'll be using the Thoughtful Journey designer series paper. This is full of beautiful watercolor scenes in gorgeous colors. So I'm just going to flip through them really quickly so you can get a good look at all of them. I just love the watercolor images. But sometimes designer series papers like this, or pattern papers, scrapbook papers, whatever, they have these scenes, and our first thought is, oh, they're beautiful. But then we think, oh, they're too beautiful to cut up, or I don't really know how to cut it and use it for a card. So I'm going to give you a fun fold layout today that is perfect for designer series papers like this that have a theme, or a scene, I'm sorry, a scene. So, and then I'm also using the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set and some of the dies, which is a great bundle to pair with that DSP. Now, I often tell you, if you're going to make one card, why not make two, right? So I'm going to show you how to score this one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock to make two of these fun fold cards, okay? So first I'm going to have it in the vertical position and score at 4 1/4 inches, okay? Score it at half. I'm gonna flip it, so now I have this raised bump. And I'm going to score at 2 1/8 inch. That's half of 4 1/4, so 2 1/8. And then I'm going to turn it to the horizontal position and cut at 5 1/2. So I am making a standard A2 size card. I already have my sample made, so I really only need one of these right now, but I did want to show you how easy it is to cut two card bases at once for this fun fold card. And the reason I flipped the cardstock and scored on the other side is because I'm folding those score lines in opposite directions, okay? That's why I did that. They just come out a little cleaner. You get a little bit better crease when you're doing that. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my piece of 6 by 6 designer series paper with this pretty scene on it. Now I only need 5 1/4. I need it to be 5 1/4 inches high, so I can cut off some of the top to make 5 1/4, or I can cut off some of the bottom to make 5 1/4. It really doesn't matter. You choose what you think will be best based on the DSP piece that you've chosen. I'm going to cut off the top part. So I'm at 5 1/4, which means I'm cutting off a 3/4 inch strip, okay? And I'll save this, I'll use it on another project at another time, maybe one of those card layouts where I'm using up scraps, something like that. Then I'm going to start on the left and cut at 1 7/8 inches, okay? Oops, make sure it's up against the top. 1 7/8 inches, and I'm going to repeat that, 1 7/8 inches. And then I'm going to cut at 2 inches. And this teeny tiny little strip here, I'll probably just throw that away. I don't know that I would use one that narrow. Now I'm going to get ready to adhere these to my card. And when I do so, I want to make sure I lay these out in the order that I cut them so that they fit together like a puzzle. So it looks like a completed picture. Okay. I'm going to adhere this piece of white to the inside of my card. It measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So this is finished card is standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I'm going to take the first of my strips, the one on the left, and adhere this to that first panel. I'm going to open it up, take the second piece, and adhere it to the second panel on my card base. And then the last one, I'm going to adhere to the right side of my basic white cardstock. And I'm just taking it to the right edge and the top and bottom edge of the white cardstock. And this is what it looks like when I close it. But when I open it up, it looks like a complete scene. I have placed to write a message in here. Sometimes people tell me, Mary, you leave this whole big piece of white in there. I don't want to write that much. I like to write a lot. I always write a personal note in my cards. I don't just sign them. So I like that. But if you're somebody who doesn't like to write a whole lot, this card is for you. If you do like to write a lot and this is not enough space for you, what I would do is simply take a piece of that same size piece of white and put it on the back. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Mary, I'm so glad you're here. I need these times too to connect on Facebook. Now I'm going to stamp with, excuse me, this is Petunia Pop ink, and I'm going to stamp on the spanner that I die cut with the Stylish Shapes dies. Okay, let me line it up there. I like to send missing you cards to people I don't see very often, and to my daughter that lives in Cincinnati. I'm going to set these pieces aside for a moment, and I'm going to bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm using these two dies from the Thoughtful Wishes die collection, okay? This one you can see is a little bit larger, but they actually coordinate. The stems go on top of the one with the flowers. So first I'm going to cut the one with the flowers from the Petunia Pop cardstock. Set that over here. I'll use the piercing tool from my Take Your Pick to gently release the die cut and pull it out. I do find with things like this, to take it from the bottom is a little bit better. There's less chance of you tearing it if you're pulling it from the top, okay? So I'll set that aside. And then I'm going to take the coordinating die and make a die cut from the Mossy Meadow cardstock. Oh, and that one popped right out. I don't even need my piercing tool for it. Then we're simply going to glue these together. And you're probably thinking, oh, Mary, those tiny little stems and leaves, how are we going to do this without making a mess? I'm going to show you how simple it really is. Now, you can see right here that the Mossy Meadow one with just the stems and the leaves will fit right over the first die cut, exposing just the flowers. So what I'm going to do is just dot some glue, teeny tiny dots of multi-purpose glue on some of these areas. I've got my silicone craft sheet, so I won't be getting my work surface all sticky and gunky. Remember, not on the Petunia Pop leaves. Okay, just on some of the stems and leaves, not on the petunia pop flowers. Correcting myself, flowers. It's okay to put it on the leaves. And then you're just going to gently place the Mossy Meadow die cut on top. You can use your finger to move or slide the die cut into place. Just like that. Easy peasy, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not hard at all. You can see my silicone craft sheet caught the excess glue, and I'm going to move to a clean space where there's not any glue, and I'm just going to flip this over and press just to make sure the two are held together well, and that looks perfect. Voila. Okay, so let's finish out this card, and then I'll make a second one, and we're gonna finish off the second one just a little bit differently. So to finish this, I wanna put my die cut here, and then I'm going to go over it a little bit with my sentiment. So before you do any gluing, kind of have a good idea of where you want to put your adhesive. I don't want it much on that right side, but I do want some on the left side. And the reason I don't want it on the right side is I don't want to seal my card shut. You don't have to have glue everywhere. And I think that's probably good. I'm going to do it just like that. If you're worried about it getting your finger sticky, just drop your silicone craft sheet on it and press down that way. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Now I'm ready to add my sentiment. Again, I want to make sure that whatever adhesive I use is only on the back of the left side. And I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals for that. And I have an embellishment to add, but we'll do that after I make the second card for you. So isn't that a fun, easy way to use your 6x6 papers that have scenes on them? So now we're going to make a second one, mainly because if I make a second one with you, I'll have two to give away. So I've done the same thing with my cardstock for the base. It measures 5.5 by 8.5 inches. I've scored at 2 1/4, or I'm sorry, 4 1/4, and then the opposite side I scored at 2 1/8. So 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. I'm going to add some basic white to the inside of the card base. 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then once again, I'm going to cut my designer series paper the same way I did before. So again, I need it to be 5 1/4 inches high, so I can go from the bottom and measure up, or go from the top and measure down. I'm going to cut off, again, it's your preference, do what you want. I'm going to cut off 3/4 inch from the top. Okay, I'll save that strip for another project. Turn it back to the, what is now the horizontal position, and I'm going to cut at 1 7/8 inches, and again, at 1 7/8 inches. And then the last strip, I want it to be 2 inches. And you could actually just leave it and use this whole piece, but I have found that I like to cut it at 2 inches, which is exactly half of my white cardstock. And that's the reason I do it that way. And I know not everybody likes this wild wheat color, but I'm telling you, when it's in the right combination, and you can't go wrong if it's in your DSP, when that wild wheat is in the right combination, it is very, very pretty. So in here, in this print, you can see it's combined with some pretty peacock. It's got some of the boho blue, little mossy meadow there. So it's very, very, very pretty. And of course, with DSP like this, you have several options of colors to use for your card base. I could have used, my first choice was actually Pretty Peacock, and I thought, no, go out of the box a little bit and go with the wild wheat instead. I could have even used Mossy Meadow. I try to use one of the colors that is most prominent in the DSP. So I have that. All right, I need to close this up and switch. Again, I've got two, I don't know why I do that, two of my Stampin' Seals there. To finish off the next one, I'm first going to stamp, and I'm using this sentiment from the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set. It says, "Thinking of you fondly." And again, I'm stamping it on a banner that I cut using the Stylus Shapes dies. The next thing I'm going to do is ink up this stamp from the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to be other than just some kind of foliage. At times I see corn stalks. So does anybody else see that too? And I'm going to stamp on this piece of scrap paper of the wild wheat. And before I die cut this, notice that in these images, because you've got the watercolor effect, the images are kind of muted and you've got the blending of colors in there from that watercolor effect. I want to try and replicate that using my wild wheat ink pad and my blending brush. So I'm going to start off the cardstock and move on the cardstock and just go over that area where I stamped. I want to do it a little bit darker, so I'm going to repeat that. So I'm kind of replicating that blended watercolor look. Okay, do you see that? And now I'm ready to die cut that image. Again, with one of the dies from the Thoughtful Wishes. Whoops, that's not the right one. From Thoughtful Wishes bundle or stamp set. Get this all lined up in here nicely. If you feel like you need some Post-it tape or washi tape to hold that in place, by all means do that. Sometimes that Gives us that little bit of security so that our die and our stamped image still match up well. Okay, I've got a, oh no, I guess it fell out. I thought I saw a piece that needed to be poked out, but look how nicely that came out. I love it. And now I'm ready to finish off my card. Again, I want this kind of centered a little more towards the left. And so I'm going to add some adhesive, keeping in mind though, where that adhesive is going, because I don't want to put adhesive in places that it would seal my card shut. Right? Using that blending brush just made the foliage a little softer rather than those lines, stamped lines being so stark and bold. Okay, there we go. I'm going to take my sentiment, add a couple of dimensionals on the back left side only, again, because I don't want to seal my card shut. How many of you have the Thoughtful Wishes paper? Thoughtful Wishes 6x6 paper, or Thoughtful Journey it's called. The bundle is Thoughtful Wishes, but the paper is Thoughtful Journey. Okay, so I said at the end I would embellish each of the cards. Super easy, right? It's a super easy fun fold layout and easy to cut the DSP. So I'm going to use these adhesive back dragonflies and birds. I'm actually going to use the dragonflies, I think. Whoops, what happened there? Because I'm squeezing a little hard. Put one here, and then maybe one up here, and one over here, I think. I like that. They look real delicate in there. Okay. Cindy, you obviously must be loving that DSP. I could use these on here. I think they might get a little bit lost because they're so close in color to the wild wheat. So I'm going to actually choose a different, let's see where it went. Is that the one? No. Here it is. I'm actually going to use a different embellishment for this. So I'm using the Adhesive Back Sequins Trio, and I'm just going to add some of these pretty peacock elements, these sequins. Put one here, and then I think I'll put one up here as well. And those stand out a little bit better than I think the birds or dragonflies would have on that card. So here are my two fun fold cards. Very same layout, very same fun fold. Even the way I finished off was the same, with some kind of foliage behind and then a simple sentiment banner. Okay, so what do you think? Who's going to be giving this a try? Okay, and a quick reminder that the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 DSP, as well as 13 other designer series papers from our annual catalog, are on sale 15% off through the end of this month, August 2024. Oh, So many favorites. I have most of these, and honestly, I love them all. Even this one, Winter Meadow, that carried over from last year's mini catalog, is on sale as well. So there's something there for everybody. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. If you would like to have your name put into the drawing to receive one of these cards, please type in the comments now, Thoughtful Journey. Thoughtful Journey. That is the name of the designer series paper I've used here. Thoughtful Journey. And remember, this works for any of our DSPs, but works especially well with any kind of paper you have that shows a scene. All right. Thank you so much for enjoying me. I missed you on Tuesday, but I had a great time on my girls' trip with my friend Deb. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. And if you would like more creative inspiration, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel by the same name, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. And I would love it if you would subscribe and help me reach 10,000 subscribers. I just keep climbing and climbing and setting new goals, and I am so close to the 10,000 subscribers mark, and would appreciate you helping me out with that. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Happy stamping and go USA!